to women because it's quite dangerous in Brazil. We heard from someone who is from Brazil, and that just made me feel like this was meant to be. And at that point, I also thanked God. I was like, okay, well, thank you for saving us from. And then at that point, I actually felt like we were saved from something pretty bad. I don't feel like that with me now, but at that point, I felt like we were really saved from who knows, like, I don't know what would have happened to us out there, but I feel like this was just, I don't know, God's way of, God, the universe, whatever, our higher selves, the way of taking us away from that. And just, yeah, we were just able to trust that that was what was meant to be. So I'm glad we were able to look at it that way at that point too. I feel like I should have learned to be like smarter about making sure everything is ready, that I know everything going into these flights, that I need to prepare and all of that. I totally thought that experience with my mom would have taught me, and that I would never have a mistake like that again. But nope. I just did it again, sort of. I mean, different situation. I have my visa and stuff ready, sort of, but this was obviously a different thing. This is a COVID thing, but same situation. If I was just more prepared and more aware of what could happen, or just making sure that I know what I'm doing and whatever, prepare. I really learned my lesson this time, because I made the same mistake again. I did not prepare enough. I could have done more to make sure I was ready, and even if I had just gotten to the airport just a bit sooner this time, yesterday, if I had gotten there just a little bit sooner, if I didn't forget that thing at home, this all would have worked out, because I could have got the COVID test before it closed and all of that. So again, this whole divine timing thing, like, there was a reason I left something at home, and there was a reason we decided, okay, let's go back and get it, even though it's not that important. There literally were just business cards and stickers that I wanted to bring. But we were like, we have some time. We have time, so let's do it. So easily that could have not happened, and I could have been on the flight right now. But I just feel like this is all, and then all of this, I get to the airport, I almost am able to fix the situation, but then, oh no, the worker sends me to the wrong COVID testing spot. If she had known that it was upstairs, not at the original spot, I would have made it before it closed, because I only made it within 1 minute of it closing. So all of these like tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions and happenings of that day was, to me, that is unexplainable. I don't think that was just all by coincidence, and that this was just something really shitty that just happened to me, and oh no, like, things happen, right? I don't think that. I think that all of those tiny little things led to the next, because there was a reason for it. And regardless of whether I'm right about that or not, because how am I supposed to know, right? I'm so happy that I feel this way, because it made it so much easier to get through. The whole situation was so much easier to deal with. I can't even imagine how upset and how mad I would be if I didn't think this way. I would be so mad at myself for letting that happen, and for not learning my lesson the first time, and all of these things. I'm really thankful that I'm able to actually thank the situation for what it was, rather than be bitter about it and regret. I don't like to regret anything. I genuinely don't regret anything in life. I don't even let myself feel that emotion. And it's like it's not like I force it away. Like, I don't ever feel it, because I know that even if I do regret something, I snap out of it for, like, right away, because that was meant to happen. Everything happens the way it's meant to happen. It's a world of synchronicities, and as long as I'm continuing to follow my intuition, then everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to. So, my intuition told me to turn back around and go home and grab my business cards. And I listened to it. And as much as some people would say that was a bad idea, I'm going to think that it was a great idea, and thank my higher self for telling me to do that. So, where am I now? I've told you the story. yeah, I mean, when, see, it doesn't, this kind of situation. So I think you can think of a situation in your life that you can relate to this, whatever it is, where you can think that, and maybe you can start practicing this when something goes wrong, like terribly wrong, or even just slightly wrong. You can choose how you react to it, and you can start to look at it as a blessing, or look at it as this was meant to be. Everything happens the way it's meant to. And it doesn't need to make sense right now. It doesn't need to, you can't possibly imagine what it is going to do for you. You're not that smart. I heard this I've been listening to this audio. I told you guys about it last week. Your wish is your command. But anyways, the guy, Kevin Trudeau, always says, you're not that smart. You ain't that smart. Like, you don't know what the universe has planned for you. You ain't that smart. Like, you don't know, you want this amount of money, or you want this thing out of life, and it's important to not try and figure out the how, because you ain't that smart. You don't know how it's going to happen. All you need to know is what you want. The how is irrelevant, because you ain't that smart. I love that. I really love that. And it's exactly how it plays into this situation. So another thing that you could try is look back at something in your life that went wrong, or in the past, and look at how that unfolded for you now that you're able to look back on it. Is there any time where something you think was a bad thing in the moment, but it turned out to be something that you're like, wow, thank God that happened. Otherwise I wouldn't have met this person, or I wouldn't have done this thing, or whatever. Everything happens for a reason. I'm sure you can come up with something. And I am sure I can, everything. I think, like, everything, I could give a million examples of when this happens. So it's that red thread that I've talked about, that I talked about in my second episode ever. The red thread that connects everything to everything in your life. One thing leads to another, and you don't see it in the moment. You need to, just try to keep it in your mind that you ain't that smart right now. You can't figure this out right now. You don't know. I have no idea how this is going to affect my future, but I know it is in the best possible way. Because even if it leads to another bad thing, even if that leads to an even worse thing, and it seems to be like just this horrible domino effect, I still know that at the end of the day, at the end of all of this, there was a reason for it. I needed this. This taught me something. Even if something necessarily, quote unquote, like good doesn't come from this, that even if all of these events are bad and it doesn't actually lead to such a good event to happen, the learning that comes from it is amazing in itself. That's worth it already. And if you end up meeting some new people or having this new experience, that's just a bonus. That's even better. But regardless of that, the learning that you get from these situations is priceless. And it stops you from, one, making that mistake in the future, or you think it would. You think it would. Should have. But whatever, regardless, like, I learned a lesson from the last time, and I learned the lesson from this time that I've missed these flights. And now I think I'm going to be a pro when it comes to flying, because there's no way in hell I am missing another flight. No way. That's it. I'm maxed out. But I know that the lessons I learned are priceless, and I think that it could have saved me from, in the future, missing a flight where I wouldn't get reimbursed, or missing something, if I was to have made this mistake again in the future, that outcome would have been a million times worse than this one, because this outcome was honestly fine. All it did was push my travels back a day or 2 days. That's no big deal. So I know that this saved me from something worse, or it's going to lead me to something amazing, or whatever. I'm actually really excited to find out. And as soon as I do find out, as soon as I can look back and I see that red thread, I'll be letting you guys know. I will definitely do a part 2 on this, because eventually I will figure out why this needed to happen. And I have a feeling I'll find out during my travels, because I'm going to meet, this is a fun game. I'm going to meet, okay, sorry, I'm going to finish this thought first. I'm going to meet all different people now. Everything essentially is going to be different now. Not everything, but this also happened when I got to Vietnam. Like I got stuck at the border and was an illegal immigrant for 2 days. I think I mentioned this. This was horrible in the moment, but it was not so bad. I had to wait at the border for a day, whatever. But I knew that was going to change the whole direct trajectory of my time in Vietnam, the whole month. Because if I had gone a day sooner, I would have met all different people. Everybody's on the move, would have been a whole different experience. And I made lifelong friends there. So to think that I may not have ever met, my Irishmen, my 6 Irish friends, or like some of my other, like some of my English friends, my Dutch friend, all of them, like I made amazing friends out there. And if that didn't happen, I may not have met any of them. So like, this is where I was going with this. This is kind of a fun game that I've been playing that I like to play, like almost like looking into the multiverse. So I love Spider-Man. I love the idea of the multiverse. I also believe that the multiverse totally could exist, because in a way, in every situation, there's always like an infinite number of possibilities that could happen. And it's all one decision away, or one, molecule away from a whole different scenario happening. And some people say that all of these scenarios are happening at once. Every possibility of anything ever happening could or is all happening at the same time. So essentially, this kind of ties in with the law of attraction a bit, where you're able to manipulate that multiverse in a way. You're able to almost manipulate it so that you get what you want. Because in this multiverse, there is a version of you who has everything that you've ever wanted. Because every outcome that could ever be is here now, happening. So all you have to do is find out how to break through to that version of yourself that has all of those things. So it's a kind of an interesting topic. I really love it. And I think it's totally possible, because I see how magical the world is and how magical manifestation is and how it works. So to me, it seems totally like it's totally possible. I'm also very open-minded to any crazy, weird subjects, but anyways, I like to, so the game that I've been kind of playing is, well, what would have happened if I had gotten on that flight? Would I have gotten on and all my luggage got lost? Or would I have gotten on and the plane crashed? Or it was the wrong plane, took me to Nepal or something? Or I don't know, what if everything went fine, but then I got there into town and, what something could have happened when I got there. All different cab drivers are going to be there to pick me up now, or whatever, maybe not, like, I'm sure they come every day, but, all the different tuk-tuk drivers and motorbike drivers who are there to give me a ride places, all different people. So who knows who would have been there waiting for me before. And on the positive side, like, now looking at, well, what's going to happen now that I'm doing it this time? So what's going to happen now that I'm leaving tomorrow? Well, who knows who I'm going to sit beside on the plane? Who knows who's going to pick me up when I arrive? Or any of these kind of things, right? Also, this could be a one-day difference of who I meet at my volunteer jobs that I'm going to. Just to recap, I'm doing mural jobs out in the Philippines and trading for accommodation and food, just like I was doing in Cambodia. And there may be other volunteers there. That's where I met Emily, as she was another volunteer. Emily is my friend from Germany, for those of you who haven't been listening the whole way. But anyways, in the situation with Emily, she was about to leave the day after I arrived. And then I obviously convinced her to stay for another month. But if I had arrived just one day later, that wouldn't have even happened, and I wouldn't have made one of the best soul connections I've ever had. That was, very timely, and that worked out really well for both of us. And there's no way that was by chance, especially because it was such a random place to meet in this random fishing village with no tourists or anything.